best university out there.
Subharti is the best.
Subharti is the best. Subharti is the best.
The Swati is the best.
Subharti is the best.
Subharti is the best.
Subharti is the best.
Subharti is best. Love you, Subharti.
Good afternoon and Jai Hind to all. I, Dr. Pooja, Assistant Professor and Coordinator, Textile Design Department, welcome you all to this session. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today's session on topic integrating craft into fashion, a step towards sustainability. So I welcome Dr. Babita Bhandari, Assistant Professor, Textile Design, NIFT Kangra, National Institute of Fashion Technology, to accept our invitation and spare her valuable time. Dr. Babita Bhandari, she is very much talented. If I talk about her achievements, she is UGC NET JRF holder and she has also received ICAR JRF all over India, 3rd rank. So, but before we start, I'm very thankful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir Dr. G.K. Thapliyalji, for sparing time from his busy schedule. And now I request Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, to say a few words and welcome our guest speaker.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible. Ji.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible. Yes, sir. We can hear you. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody who is joined this webinar, this seminar today. First of all, I send my greetings to you from SWAMI VIVEKANAND Subharti University and wish you a good luck and a great session ahead. At the outset, I would like to welcome the guest lecturer today. She is Dr. Babita Bhandari. She is the Assistant Professor, NIFT Kangra HP. Ma'am, I welcome you and thank you very much for joining with Subharti University for this lecture series. I also welcome and thank all the participants who have joined this lecture series and going to join this lecture series. I'm sure this lecture is going to benefit them immensely and in future and in their career planning. The topic is wonderful because it says the integrating craft into fashions, a step towards sustainability. So this is the era of integration. This is the era of interdisciplinary. And your specialty, particularly fashion design, is the subject which actually not related to much of a knowledge, but it is much of a skill. So whatever innovative skill the person has, what is the analytical thinking the person has, or what is the critical mindset the person has, that can be reflected into creativity. And this creativity has to be sustainable. It should sustain the industry. How to sustain the industry? This is the one idea which is being discussed today, that is the integrating craft into fashion. I don't have much idea about the subject, but I would be really enlightened after this lecture series. I will definitely listen the guest lecture and then may have my own opinion about the lecture. And I wish all the best to all of you. And thank you very much, ma'am. Once again, you may start your lecture. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Head of the Department, Fashion and Textile Design, Ms. Neha Singh, to say a few words. Jai Hind. On behalf of Department of Fashion and Textile Design, Nandlal Bose Subharti College of Fine Arts and Fashion Design, I, Neha Singh, Head of Department of Fashion and Textile Design, welcome all our dignitaries, guest speaker, my co-faculty members, students, and all those who have joined us today to this guest lecture on integrating craft into fashion, a step towards sustainability. The relationship between craft and design has been the subject of much discourse. Sustainability, as defined by Gordon, is an ecological system that maintains a good balance of what is taken from the environment and what is renewed. And sustainable fashion is fashion that is environmentally or ethically conscious through its design and production methods. Now, the concern for sustainability has regained its importance to address the environmental issues arising out of our excessive exploitation of natural resources. Much of it being caused by the wasteful approach caused by the Industrial Revolution. The scientists are also suggesting that craft knowledge is fundamental to developing a vision of design in a post-industrial future. It is these characteristics which suggest that craft has a significant role to play in developing sustainable practices. So this lecture would surely explore the role of craft in supporting sustainable fashion design, production, and consumption. In recent years, a number of DIY craft and fashion micro productions have emerged throughout the fashion and textile industries through the fusion of the design and making process. Consequently, students can collaboratively build an inspirational source through a learning, making, sharing process and progress from surface to deep engagement with sustainable fashion. That is the sole motive of our guest lecture. I thank to our guest speaker for sparing time and taking this session of much concern. Now I hand over to Dr. Pooja ma'am to kindly proceed further. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for motivating us. And now I request our guest speaker, Dr. Babita Bhandari, ma'am, to start for today's session. Over to you, ma'am.
Very good afternoon, everyone, and especially VC Sir, HOD ma'am, and Pooja ma'am for inviting me. So, first of all, I'm very much delighted to be here on this shared platform with SWAMI VIVEKANAND Subharti University, and I came to know that the university has more than 200 programs, and as rightly mentioned by VC sir, that this fashion design industry or the textile industry works more on the skill aspect as well as the analytical aspects, and how these two can be integrated to make some creative products. So let's begin with today's session, and which I think the wonderful introduction has already been given by our the HOD Miss Neha. I totally resonate with what she says. So let me know if you are able to see my presentation. Just give me a moment, please. Yeah, so now I'm expecting that you are seeing my presentation,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. This is visible.
Okay, great. Yeah, so the today's topic is it's very much relevant and very apt in today's scenario, which is integrating craft into fashion, a way towards sustainability. So, since here the students would be from fine arts and fashion design department, so let's set the perspective first. Why this topic is very much important and why I'm here. I also belong to textile design department, and we all belong to design fraternity, and why how much important role it plays, and how much sensitized we should be towards sustainability and towards the right use of fashion. So as you must be knowing that there are many brands, there are many industries who have started focusing on sustainability, but again, we have been seeing that sustainability is not being interpreted in the right manner. And there are businesses, there are brands which are making profit, out of this tagline that they are following sustainable fashion. And also not just for the fashion design student, but in general also this topic can be very relevant to those who believe in sustainable lifestyle and who are the well-wisher of the planet. So if you are, if you are conscious consumer, if you believe that your actions, can play a very important role in saving the planet, so this session is going to be very useful. So, as I said, firstly, let's set the perspective in a right manner and let's work upon our mindset and let's think about, what has been our already set notions because of what we have been seeing, in during our life, as well as what we are getting influenced by. So, when we talk about fashion, most of the times, what comes to our mind? Most of the time, I would say that the fashion shows, which seem very glamorous, and we get carried over by, or we get fascinated towards the bling side of the fashion. And we often overlook, fashion is much more than that. Fashion is something which we can wear on daily basis. Fashion is something which can carry, its own relevant message. Fashion can be used as a tool to bring a new revolution. So fashion has a much more crucial role to play in society rather than just, kind of fascinating people with its color and richness. So fashion is much more. And let's talk about the industry first, because I'm sure that you must be knowing about the facts. And again, but we need to be, should not be ignorant, because of our mindless purchasing or because of our impulsive buying behavior, what we are doing and what kind of impact it is having on the environment. So you must have seen these kind of visuals when you go to metro cities and to other places where the textiles are just dumped out. And most of the times, your clothing which you buy without having much thought, that sometimes just remaining there in your wardrobe for years and years, and sometimes it ends up to the landfills. So it is very alarming statistic which says that almost 85% of the textile is being just left out in the landfills, and sometimes it's burnt out there. And because of that, this waste releases a lot of harmful gases out there. And then when we talk about the resource use, resources play a very important role. How much resource we are using to make one garment, and how much resources we are making, we are using to make our collection, that also matters a lot. So you must be knowing that the textile industry almost uses, it's the second highest user of water. And you must be knowing that water is one of the very valuable source, valuable resource, and which has different uses in different industries as well. And when it comes to releasing the harmful gases, the textile industry is responsible for producing 10% of the global greenhouse gases. So that means, and also we should not be too greedy. We should be uh, taking care or considering that along with textile industry, along with fashion industries, there are other industries which are existing alongside, and we need to take care of the resources of the planet in such a manner that we can keep or make some space for other industries to exist also. And the very important or the integral part of the industry, any industry, it would be the workforce. So in the textile industry, you would see that 80% of the women are involved through the supply chain, from collecting of the raw material to processing the fiber into yarn, and then making a fabric and making a garment out of it, even during the finishing and packaging stage of it. But again, we need to understand, are these women getting their fair wages for the work they are doing? Are they getting enough time, or are they getting enough or proper working conditions? Are they getting some leaves? Are they getting some maternity leaves? So this also plays a very important role when we talk about sustainability aspect of any industry. I would like to draw your attention to this very important and very attention grabbing visual which you can see here. So this is Rana Plaza building collapse, which happened in 2013 in Bangladesh, and it killed more than 1100 people. But this visual is this accident did not take place just because of out of some natural earthquake or any other calamity, but it happened because of the excess greed of the western so-called high fashion brands, because these brands are always aiming at sourcing material and sourcing the garments at lower prices. And these underdeveloped nations like Bangladesh and Vietnam and other nations, they are just forced to do work in the buildings which are not meant to bear the load and heavy very much high vibrations of the textile machineries. So so this particular incident brought attention from around the world, and there have been a lot of activists who raised their voices, and they talked about the ill effect or harmful effect of the industry on the people as well as on the planet. As you can see here, here what people are doing, they are just they are pledging that this to make their factories more safe, and they do not want to die for the sake of fashion. So you can see, although that fashion which is selling at very cheap price in different stores out there under fast fashion brands, how much huge social cost these brands have. So as a consumer as well as a designer, we need to be very critical, and we need to analyze, we need to use our brain, and uh, into the into the this aspect or this side of the fashion industry, and we should pledge to do something about it, because this is the right time, since you are the student, and the kind of perspective you would be setting for yourself right now, this is you are going to carry for lifelong. And as a part of the industry, at some point of time you are going to start your own brand, and you are going to lead any company in future. So it's very important that you start valuing the workers you would be employing in near future, and the kind of workspace you would be providing them, and the kind of resources as well as processes you would be using for making your high cost collections. Okay, so in that regard, I would like to take you through this documentary, which is the True Cost. It's just the trailer of this documentary, although the full documentary is already available on YouTube, and you can have a you can watch it. But just to understand the gravity of the gravity of actions we as a designer have on the people as well as planet, just have a look at it, and just let me know if you can hear the audio part as well.
We communicate who we are through clothing. It is fundamentally a part of what we wish to communicate about ourselves. We used to have a system, a fashion system, that has absolutely nothing to do with the fashion industry today. It has been reinvented.
It's based on materialism. The problem is that comes at a really high price.
Garment factory collapsed, killing more than 1,000.
Clashes between clothes factory workers and riot police in Cambodia.
Last November, 112 people were killed in another major factory fire. 30,000 Chinese workers went on strike.
Garment workers in Bangladesh paying the price for cheap clothing.
Well, the promise of globalization was that it was going to be a win-win, that consumers in the rich world would get cheaper goods and people in the poorer parts of the world would get jobs, and that those jobs would give them an opportunity to work their way out of poverty.
This enormous, rapacious industry that is generating so much profit, why is it that it is unable to support millions of its workers properly?
The actual business model is completely unsustainable. Unless you change that model, you can't change anything.
When everything is concentrated on making profits, what you see is that human rights, the environment, workers' rights get lost.
My God, we can do better than this.
Yeah, so as you saw in that, documentary or part of the documentary, the true cost, you got an idea due to because of the materialism or, we have been blindly following so-called fashion, what kind of impact it is having on people as well as environment. So we should open our eyes before it's too late. That's why this topic, to discuss about this topic and find some ways, through which we can make the industry more sustainable, we need to think about it, and we have to figure out some plans which can be implemented, or on our individual level, as well as I said, the industry needs to change the business model on which it is creating the collections within a span of 2 weeks or within a span of 1 month. It has to change different, it has to change that business model altogether. And as a designer, or as a to be a designer, obviously you play a very crucial role, very important role. And obviously when you would be seeing these different brands which always say that they have launched different initiatives, they have come up with different campaigns, and they have the ambition of making kind of reducing their carbon footprint, even when they don't know what is the exact carbon footprint they have at present, but how can they calculate if they have reduced or not? And some of these brands say that they would be going totally organic, and even if they would be using less than 2% of the organic cotton, and then they say that their whole collection is using organic cotton. So that means we should not fall into such traps, and we should not believe into what these brands are conveying to us. We should be more critical in our analysis, and we should see the ground reality. That means we need to be more aware consumer, as well as obviously you being the very integral part of it, how to measure the sustainability aspects, and what is eco-friendly and what is not. So for that we need to be very sensitized towards this aspect of the industry, and we need to spread awareness on our own levels. So that means if some brand is telling you that they are 100% sustainable, I'm not sure that we should, we should not believe into what they are saying. So, and obviously, being 100% sustainable is near to impossible when we see the ground reality, because there are so many measures which we have to take care of to become 100% sustainable. But obviously, we can reduce the impact as a brand which we would be having, as well as we can take so many steps, combination of different steps, and which would be ensuring a better future for all. As you can see here, the head of the sustainable fashion and textiles at Eco Age, which is a sustainable, which is an agency, provides sustainable business strategies to brands and companies out there. Even they say that the key issue is the lack of consensus of what is meant by sustainable, and particularly sustainable fabrics. So if some people, if you go to a store and somebody is selling you a sustainable garment, you need to ask why it is called, why it is termed, or why it has been labeled as sustainable garment. What is, what different criterias you have fulfilled, and what different actions you have taken care of. So you need to ask questions at every level of supply chain, and you need to, raise your voices to those brands. If they are telling that they have launched any sustainable initiative of reducing their carbon footprint by 2025, so you need to ask what kind of, initiatives you have been taking. And there are so many brands, you must have seen that they have a separate department as a corporate social responsibility. So I firmly believe that rather than making it as a separate department, we should always integrate this, the social responsibility aspect into our whole business model. So yeah, now what is sustainable fashion actually? And as I said, there are a lot of misconceptions which are going around this term, and this is a buzz topic nowadays. You will see this, many people are talking about it in all the sectors, even as a part of lifestyle also. So when we talk about sustainable fashion, it covers different type of fashions. And if one brand says that they are slow fashion brand, so that does not mean, or that does not mean that they are sustainable fashion in all, and one and all, by all means. That means they are making a fashion which will which will last longer, and that will not go out of fashion quickly. It just says so. That does not guarantee that they would be using some eco-friendly dyes or eco-friendly processes. That does not mean that they are paying their workers fair wages. I hope you are getting my point. Ethical fashion, when we talk about ethical fashion, there would be people who would say that we are, we believe in fair trade. We have been, we are not exploiting our workers' skills. We are giving them enough kind of due credit at one or other levels. So that means they are ethical fashion. And again, it does not mean that it would fall under sustainable fashion, although they are just fulfilling one pillar, or kind of one criteria of sustainable fashion. So if you want to make a brand which needs to be totally sustainable, you will have to take care of what kind of material, as a fiber in case of fashion, what kind of material you are using. It should be pesticide free. It should not, you should not be harming the soil in any manner. And you would be using different, you should not be using any harmful chemicals. You should be taking care of the effluent. You should not be releasing the effluent into the water bodies or into the ecosystem without giving kind of treatment to it. So you need to use the green dyes or eco-friendly dyes. You need to not use the harmful mordants, just for the sake of getting good shades or darker shades. You should always treat your effluent, as I said. And you have to provide comfortable as well as good working conditions to your workers. You should give them the leaves when they when there is some emergency at their home. Even these are the part of the industry. If you want to make your your company to sustain for a very long time, you will have to take care of the needs of your workers, and you should also think of their welfare. You should also think of their development and growth. So you should always invest into the well-being of your workers. So that means you are taking care of the ethical aspect of running a business. And then when we talk about slow fashion, that means you should not make garments which the person throws out of his wardrobe just after using for one season. Or you should be making garment which your user may find that unfit, or because of the size problems he might not use that particular garment for the next season. So that means the slow fashion would be taking care of the trend aspect, that it should not go out of trend very easily. Okay, so sustainable fashion is a very holistic term, and it takes care of the people of the planet as well as, and it believes in classic fashion. It does not believe in producing fast fashion. So, and also it is going to give you ways, it is going to give you ideas how you can ensure more sustainability into what you would be producing in near future. Now talking about craft, because the topic is about how we can integrate craft and how we can move towards sustainability. And again, it's very important to ask this question, that why we have been talking about craft, why not about something else? And in 21st century, when we have been talking about smart wearables, smart textiles, digitization and other, there are advanced technologies which have come into the marketplace. But again, why we are focusing on craft sector, and why it is important, how instrumental it can be for ensuring the sustainability in the long run. When you will see the Indian context, socially as well as culturally, our country is full of different arts and crafts. And I would say that this map is not inclusive of all the crafts. There are so many crafts which have not been mapped out. There are so many crafts which have not, taken the attention from the designers. And those are very regional crafts, and those have very limited use. Also, there are some crafts which are of ritualistic importance. There are some crafts which form a very integral part of the communities, we tribal communities, banjara embroideries, toda embroideries, and many others. So, and because that craft is the backbone of our Indian economy, you can say. And also as a society also, it gives us a unique identity throughout the world. India has, from many centuries, in the past also, India has been known throughout the world for its craft only. And even before the Britishers came to India, our Indian textiles were exported to different Western countries and other countries, and they used to appreciate what the kind of fast natural dyes we were able to produce, and the quality of prints we were able to produce in the form of chintz. And they used to make their own garments and home furnishings out of the textiles which were being printed in India. So you can understand, from a very long time, Indian artisans, Indian craftsmen have been skilled into various types of crafts. And and no designer, even if you get any kind of vocational degree, you can't reach up to their level. You can't get expertise into a craft as a craftsman whose family has been involved into that particular work from for many generations now. So as a designer, you need to give due respect to the craftsmen and the craft sector. And as you can see here, the kind of images, the visuals, even the person who is doing the printing, block printing, just look at the kind of clothing he's wearing. He just that means he's not able to afford the good quality clothing, which is a basic need of any human being. So that means he's not giving due return on the kind of investment he is doing on making these block printed fabrics. And same way, the kind of spaces they are working in, there is a lot of ergonomic hazard which is associated with these crafts, be it embroidery, handloom, or any other craft. So as a designer, as an aware or sensitive designer, we need to also give importance to what kind of conditions they are working in. And as I said, this is one of the most tangible creative discipline. Like you can see what they are making, so it's tangible and it's so creative that but you would find that we have been like we have taken the craftsman, the craft for granted for a very long, and because of that only we just see it as a very menial job. We don't consider them as a creative people, who are able to make such interesting and such amazing designs out of natural dyes which are present everywhere. So that's why this is the right time. And obviously you must have heard that the current state of the craftsmen is not, they are not in a very good condition. And as a designer, I would say that you should do something about it. And yeah, as you can see here, economy wise also it employs almost 15 to 20% of the workforce, so that means if we want to kind of bring our nation into the category of the developed nations, we'll have to pay more focus on our craft sector, and we'll have to find out ways through which we can strengthen this sector. And you can use the good points, the positive aspects of it into the industry also, fashion industry also. And we should not limit the application of the craft just for the conservative people, just for the conventional clothing. We have to think beyond the boundaries, and this is the very right time. and, and right now, if just if imagine if you have to see a very authentic hand done bag or the fulkari, you would rarely find these fulkari being practiced in villages, or it is being sold in market nowadays. When you want to see the authenticity when it comes to textile crafts, those have just become limited to the museums. So museums, and you must have seen that you always go to the museum just to understand what was the authentic, which used to exist long back. And it's very difficult to find this kind of authenticity in products, in the fashion which we call as fashion. It's not seen there usually. So that it's the right time that we have to think about it. But again, thanks to these eminent persons, personalities, you must say, eminent craft activists, you must have heard their names, like Laila Tyabji or Pupul Jayakar, Jaya Jetli, who have done their efforts to revive the crafts communities. And their examples would always be taken whenever you would be willing to work with the craft sector, and you will always get inspired by their stories, how they have their interesting journeys of bringing craft sector at the forefront. But as a designer, as a designer, you have much more to look up to. There are so many fashion designers you must be taking inspiration from, and you must be getting kind of motivated by their stories, and how they are doing their bit to integrate craft into fashion. And so in the next few slides, I'll be showing you the kind of work the fashion designers, some of the fashion designers are doing right now. But again, it does not mean that these are the only ways through which you can make plans for yourself, and these are the only ways that you can integrate craft into fashion. You can just take, you have to take these as a reference, but you have to use your own analytical mind to it. And also, since I personally have not been to workshops of Sabya Shastri, and I've not seen how the craftsmen are working under him, but so I cannot assure, if he's paying fair wages to his workers or not. But again, as I said, we can, just take reference from what good he is doing to the craft sector. And Sabyasachi is very prominent name when it comes to, the uh, fashion designers in India. And the good thing about his style is he believes in, not giving any design intervention for the for the sake of design. And he believes in preserving the craft as such, because it is going to kind of imbibe a sense of pride to the craftsmen, and they would be so honored to use their own skills, and they would not get confused by what other, what kind of change the the designer is going to bring. And Sabyasachi is giving a very good platform and very good, he's just applying the original crafts into various collections or into various garments, and somewhat in contemporary garments, and presenting it to the, the eminent clients, you can say. So this is one way, and you must have heard that he employs almost more than 3,000 craftsmen under him, and he has worked with crafts of various states in India. And the vibe of Indianness and the vibe of richness which our craft has, or the diversity which our craft has, his unique identity, his the USP of the brand is to utilize the craft as such, and make different contemporary or the classic collections for the, his clients. So here is one example to whom you can look as an, as an inspiration. And there would be other designers who have their own way of dealing with the craft sector, and developing their own business model. So there is another, obviously, haute couture who is the Rahul Mishran. You must have heard about it and seen his amazing collections. So he says that if the craft has to sustain, it must evolve with time. And as a designer, it's my responsibility to facilitate that transition in my best capacity. So as you can see that, see here, his philosophy is different. He believes to utilize the skill set of the craftsman, but again, as a designer, he thinks that, it needs to evolve, or he needs to make some design intervention. He needs to come up with some artistic designs. So yeah, if you will look at his collections, you will come to know that, very very amazing collections, very artistic designs and motifs. The way he has integrated various flora and fauna elements into his collection, that's quite amazing. But again, since he is employing a lot many craftsmen, and he is trying to utilize their embroidery skills, their other skills of weaving and other things, embellishments. So that is how kind of, his way of integrating craft into fashion is very different than the Sabyasachi way of integrating craft into fashion. And again, I would, kind of emphasize here that you need not to blindly copy any designer style. Since you have to create your own identity in the marketplace, and you have to serve to a different client, so you need to work upon, you need to figure out, how you are going to work with the craft sector, and also you need to ensure that whether you are, producing sustainable fashion at the end or not. So that's your own homework which you need to do, and you won't get ready-made answers anywhere. So that introspection is very much essential on a part of, designer. Then comes, obviously, we have lot many designers like Tarun Tahiliani, as you can see through his collections. He have been catering to different kinds of clients, and I've shown you just few examples what kind of, how he is using, combining different embellishments, different embroideries, tassel work, and different kind of weaves, as well as how he is using the, you know hand woven silk fabrics in making his collections. That how he is using zardozi, as well as how he's combining zardozi with, the touch of South Indian touch. So that you need to understand that every client's demand would be different. But at the same time, since if your objective is if you want to sustain, and if your objective is to make a sustainable fashion, you will have to take care of different parameters. Then Gaurang Shah is another designer. As you can see here, what he has done, he has obviously these designers are launching a lot many collections for different seasons. As you can see here, he has used the kalamkari technique, but the inspiration has been taken from the the frescoes of Ajanta and Ellora. uh, and so his way of integrating craft is very different. He is he's trying to revive the original kalamkari, how they used to get these shades with using natural dyes. And he kind of revived the different lot many stages which used to be followed in kalamkari initially. Although nowadays it's very difficult to get an authentic kalamkari, so that's how Gaurang Shah did his bit to kind of to support the craft communities. And as a user, one needs to keep in mind that the lifespan of these products, of these garments, to be need to be high. They should not just last for 2 years, 5 years. They should pass on from generation to generations. And if in at any point of time, if you feel that you are not into using that garment, you are not at all kind of you have after that, so that means you need to hand over this garment to someone other person or someone more needy person. So that way, as a like, we all need to come together, and as a consumer, as a designer, everybody has to do their bit to ensure sustainability, a sustainable fashion. Then this is the next design, another designer, Suket Dheer. He has a very different style, compared to the previous ones. He believes in classic fashion. He believes in making garments which can be used on daily basis. The casual collections. So as you can see, just ask yourself, how many of you have like bomber jacket? We use it on daily basis, and but how many of you have how many of you thought about incorporating the ikat technique into bomber jacket? So as you can see, you know if we talk about the creativity aspect, or the from the point of view of using unique ideas, it's not something which he has done very out of the box work. But again, since ikat, originally, if you will you would have seen garments which are based upon ikat technique. So there are mainly the kurtis or the saris, that kind of garments are used, and very less you must have seen the you would have seen the bomber jacket, because made out of ikat fabric. So as a designer here, the ball is in your court, and you are going to decide which technique can be creatively combined with which what kind of garment. And obviously, this kind of jacket would not go out of style, and this kind of jacket would last for 30-40 years, you know and again, you would see there are chanderi saris, and just look at the kind of ambience, this kind of vibe this lady is carrying, and just look at the footwear. So as a designer, I would say you become an influencer also. You are the one who would be kind of explaining what kind of fashion the people would be looking up to, to follow. So you become the trendsetter here. And if you believe in yourself, if you believe in your own perspective and ideology, you should always work for it, and at one point of time you will be successful, and you would be able to ensure that more and more people would be using sustainable fashion in their daily life also. Then this is another brand which is Pizzori, and you must have heard about it. This deals with different crafts, different type of techniques that there are in India, and you can see some of the visuals here. They have played with kalamkari in a very unique manner, made contemporary garments out of it. They have been using ajrak prints, they have been using different kind of blocks prints. So like there is no end to creativity, and it's not something they are doing, very different or very unique. But again, everybody, if every individual or every company would be taking their bit to integrate craft into fashion, so this is the only way we can ensure sustainability in the long run. Then this is another designer, Anjul Bhandari, very interesting work. You must have seen what kind of breakthrough design she managed to make in chicken curry. And you must be knowing that originally almost 32 stitches were being used in chicken curry. But again, but right now in the marketplace, what you see is there are only 4 or 5 stitches, embroidery stitches, which are used on in the usual garments. But as you can see here, she has worked a lot with chicken curry, mukesh work, and then she combined two different techniques into one and made. And also she makes customized collections, so that means she believes in reducing waste and not dictating the fashion as the way she wants. Then another designer who has been working with the shibori technique and making very contemporary garments, but again using the skill set of the craftsmen and supporting the crafts community in her own way. Torani is another, very popular name which has come into place in recent years. As you can see here, he also has worked with different kinds of crafts and textiles within India. So, different kind of embroideries. He has used tassels. The inspiration is very much Indian. You can see here, the inspiration has been taken from chintz, and he's working on handloom chanderi, different kind of embroideries. Another designer is Payal Khandwala, who has been reshaping or rethinking the application of brocade into different kind of garments. In the pictures, what you see, these are very classic styles, and this won't go out of fashion very easily. But again, how you would be using this brocade fabric to make a more supple, supple garment or supple fabric, more having more drape and fall. So there are a lot of technicalities involved in at all the stages, and which you will be analyzing, uh, while you will be making the collections. And obviously natural dyeing is also very important craft, we should not forget about it. And obviously lately we have started talking about using natural dyes in the garments, and using natural dyed garments on daily basis also. But again, you need to understand, you should not use the harmful metal mordants, metallic mordants to get good shades. And that, and also you should not release the effluent if you are using the harmful mordants, chemicals, in getting the in ensuring the better fastness in these natural dyed fabrics. So Arsh, this is another brand which is using the natural dyeing craft and making westernized, making more contemporary garments as per the taste of their clients. And also, if you must be thinking that these are the high profile brands, and it takes a lot, or it takes a lot of kind of effort to reach up to their level. So since they can afford it, so they would be obviously claiming that they have they are following sustainable, uh, they are taking up such endeavors. But this is another brand which is very recent one, Amoni. And also being launched by one of like your kind of your one of the alumni of fashion design or textile design only. So you can see what she is doing. She has been working with different crafts, and she is ensuring to provide authentic handmade handicraft. So these are the different crafts she has worked in the past years. As you can see, different kind of crafts from Gujarat, Rajasthan, northern India, and Maharashtra, South India. And she has been making different garments which are which you can use on daily basis. Then when we talk about sustainable garment, I would say that sari is the best example. So if you are using, if you are buying saris for yourself, that would last, for generations. And this brand, which is Ethicus, and they are providing, hand woven saris or handcrafted saris, uh, to the customers from around India, as well as they have been into export. As you can see here, they are saying that they are using organic, organically grown cotton, and they are, giving importance to the traditional heritage they follow, and they are giving credit to the people. So they give due credit to their, to the maker, while, in their tags, also in their labels. So yeah, so these were some of the examples of how, what kind of effort some brands are, making in order to ensure, or in order to integrate crafts into fashion. Here, so that means craft would serve as a material or as a skill, and because of your design intervention, creative design interventions, you have the ability to take that craft to, to to luxury boutiques or to high stores out there. So if I have seen people who ask that, we can't purchase a handloom product, it's not affordable. So why we are saying that we should become more, sustainable if we can't purchase? So it means that if you can't purchase, you need to give it a status of luxury. And if you love, if you would be wearing such fashion, you would be kind of symbolizing that higher status in the society, and people always aspire to, to communicate such messages. So giving that status of luxury is very important to the sustainable fashion. And these are some of the steps which you need to take care of while ensuring sustainability, that you have to produce the customized garment, custom made. And in order to reduce wastage, you need to use traditional art and craft, because that's what we discussed for the past last 1 hour. And you need to give employment to artisans, not just job, but as well as dignity to your craftsmen who are, who are converting your collections, who are converting your designs into wonderful, tangible products. You have to aspire for making high quality and timeless design. So this is how you would be avoiding the fast fashion aspect of the industry, as well as you would be into producing slow fashion or the classic fashion, and which your consumer would be using for a very long time. And you need to propagate the message of repair, redesign, as well as upcycle. Okay. And fair and ethical to planet and people, obviously that's very important part, because if we want work for, a kind of saving our planet, if you want work for the well-being of our people, as an industry we won't survive anywhere. And we would be creating a problem not just for the people, but there are, so many species which are, living on the earth. We have to be, I would say at the end that we should not be very narrow minded, and we should not only be aiming to produce fashion which, we should not be only focusing on the glamour side of the fashion, but we need to have, use our more we need to use more holistic approach to what we would be doing. So yeah, with this I end my presentation. If any one has any, any other point of view to share, or if you have any other question to ask, please, you are free to do that. Thank you. Thanks for being a very patient listener.
Really, it was an enriching session, ma'am, and I hope all the students must have enjoyed to listening to you, ma'am. And now I request our principal, sir, Dr. Pintu Mishra, sir, to say some words.
गुड आफ्टरनून। थैंक यू डॉक्टर बबीता भंडारी जी, आपने बहुत अच्छा सेशन लिया और मुझे लगता है कि बच्चों को इससे बहुत लाभ मिलेगा और बहुत कुछ आपकी बातें सुन के बच्चे अपने नए प्रोजेक्ट्स में और नए कामों में उनको इन्वॉल्व करेंगे और जो कुछ भी आपने बताया है वो बच्चों ने उसका पूरा लाभ उठाएंगे और हम जल्दी ही एक अच्छा ये तो ऑनलाइन था, एक लाइव सेशन आपके साथ करना चाहेंगे और जो कुछ भी ये सेशन के लिए तैयारियां हुई हैं इसमें डॉक्टर पूजा का बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा, उनको मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा। हेड ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट नेहा सिंह जिनके बिना ये काम हो नहीं सकता था, उनका और उनकी पूरी टीम को मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा और साथ ही हमारे विश्वविद्यालय के कुलपति महोदय को मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा जिन्होंने हमें ये वेबिनार करने की परमिशन दी। और फिर एक बार मैं आपसे डॉक्टर बबीता जी, मैं आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा कि आपने जो जितनी भी जानकारियाँ दी उसका बच्चे ज़रूर अपने जीवन में लाभ उठाएंगे और उसको अपने रिसर्च में और अपने एजुकेशन में ऐड करेंगे। मेरी बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। थैंक यू।
Thank you, sir. Now, our HOD ma'am would like to say a few words. So, over to ma'am. Thank you so much, Babita ma'am, for enlightening us, for enlightening our students who have now the better understanding of using sustainability, using its element into their design. And you have nicely explained the importance of craft, the forgotten and vanished techniques used by various tribes. And they were so enriching. And you have also told about eminent artists, craft artists, and fashion designers who are using the craft techniques into their design. Students will really got benefit from your session, and they will draw inspiration from them. And you have talked about some designers, Sabyasachi, Gaurav Shah, Suket Dheer, who have used the traditional techniques like kalamkari, ikkat into their designs, and students will really get benefited from this. So I thank you from the core of my heart. I thank to our principal sir, Dr. Pintu Mishra, for being our guiding light. I thank Honorable Vice Chancellor sir and Dr. Pooja for conducting such a wonderful session. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am, for such a knowledgeable session. I hope students, you all have enjoyed, and we hope for your cooperation in future also, ma'am. Thank you for sparing your valuable time and delivering such a wonderful lecture. Really, ma'am, it was very nice. So, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for
you so much,
inviting
ma'am.
me.
It was really very nice.
It was my pleasure to be here, and obviously, yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. We'll see you. Okay.